Variable declaration. A variable declaration reserves certain amount of space within the computer memory, and that space depends upon the size of data type that is used to declare a variable. For example, int space num1 comma num2 has been used to declare a variable. Over here we are telling the compiler to create two variables by name num1 and num2, which is of type integer, and hence the compiler will reserve 2 bytes of space within the memory for num1 and 2 bytes for num2. Observe the table carefully. In this table you can find data type, their format specifiers or control strings, and their meaning. Int data type is having %d as the format specifier whenever we read or display an integer value. That is, in order to read a value, we use scanf function. Within scanf, we need to use %d to input an integer. Likewise, in printf statement, we need to use %d in appropriate places to output or display an integer value. Likewise, %o is used to read or display an octal value. %x is used to read or display a hexadecimal value. %u is used to read or display an unsigned integer value. You are going to learn about the practical aspects in the coming session. Float is having %f as the format specifier, which is used to read or display a floating point number. Char is having %c as the format specifier when we try to read or display a single character value. Likewise, %s is used to read or display a string. A string is a sequence of characters. Double is having %lf as the format specifier, wherein we can read or display a long floating point number or double value. And lastly, long int. Format specifier is %ld, by using which we can read or display long integer value. Now try to analyze the given program. This is a simple program. The first statement is #include stdio.h. This statement instructs the compiler to include standard input-output header file into the program. Next statement is void main. In this main function, we are declaring three variables a, b, and c, which are of type integer. The statement is int space a comma b comma c. This will instruct the compiler to reserve 2 bytes of space for variable a and 2 bytes for b and 2 bytes for c. Now onwards we can use these three variables to store integer numbers. Next statement is clr which is used to clear the screen. Next we are using printf statement to display a message to the user, that is enter two numbers. Next we are reading two numbers by using scanf function. Observe the syntax of scanf function. Scanf bracket open, double quotes open, %d 2 times, because we are reading two integer numbers and the format specifier for integer is %d. Next we are using %a, which means address of a. Ampersand is the address operator, which is used along with the variable so that we can access the memory location of that particular variable. Now you can observe that scanf is being used to read two numbers. The first number read by using %d will be stored in the variable a, and the second number that has been read or inputted will be stored in the variable b. Next statement is c is equal to a plus b, which will instruct the compiler to calculate or find the sum of a and b and store the result in the variable c. Next we are displaying the value that has been stored in the variable c by using printf statement. You can observe it. Sum is equal to %d, and we are displaying the value which has been stored in the variable c with the help of format specifier %d. The last statement is getch, which is basically used to input a single character so that we can see the output screen. That's all. Observe the output panel. Over here, the first message that has been displayed to the user is enter two numbers. The user will input two numbers over here as input. The first one is 20, the second one is 30, and our program will calculate the sum of these two numbers and will display the output as 50. That is, sum is equal to 50 as per our requirement. Let us try to understand derived data types. These are the data types that are derived from the basic data types such as char, int, etc. Examples are pointer, array, structure, union, etc. You are going to learn about derived data types in depth in the coming chapters. Next one is user defined data types. C supports typedef that allows users to define the identifier which would represent an existing data type. Example, typedef space int space numbers. By using this statement, you can instruct the compiler that now onwards you can use numbers as a data type instead of int to declare integer variables. You can observe the example over here. Numbers space num1 comma num2. Here numbers is used to declare num1 and num2 instead of int data type.